This here is the World Economic Forum's annual meeting that's currently being held in the city of Davos, Switzerland. You know Switzerland, the country that is 95% ethnically homogenous, the country with strict immigration laws, the country with one of the highest gun ownership rates in the entire world, and the country that has refused to join almost all of these different global alliances like the EU and NATO. That's the country that global elites decide to go to every year in order to discuss their global agenda, which typically involves making sure that the other countries in the world are nothing like Switzerland. Furthermore, according to on-the-ground reporting, there are currently plenty of private jets, there are giant cavalcades of large black vehicles, as well as approximately 5,000 taxpayer-funded Swiss members of the military guarding the event. The same event, I should add, that has, at least historically, pushed the agenda of reducing common citizens, meaning your and mine, carbon footprint, as well as opening up the national border. Again, I'm sure the irony is not lost on anyone here. Regardless, one of the main attractions of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting is that it's an event where global elites tend to say the quiet part out loud. They tend to give the game away just a little bit. That is, for instance, exactly what happened back in the year 2018 when the CEO of Pfizer, he dazzled the audience of that year's World Economic Forum by telling them about the possibility of ingestible computer chips that one would take in the form of a tablet that would then signal to the authorities when a drug has been digested. Take a listen.
It is basically a biological chip that it is in the tablet, and once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
Imagine the compliance indeed. Now again, that clip was from the year 2018, and the CEO of Pfizer, he was specifically talking about schizophrenia and cancer medications. However, seen through the light of the past 4 years, meaning seen through the lens of COVID and all the associated mandates, is what he said really outside the realm of possibility? Now, you might say that, of course, it's outside the realm of possibility, given the fact that COVID is now over, at least the pandemic is no longer a hot-button issue, and the FDA even recently came out and said that we should treat COVID much like we treat the flu. However, there are currently 2 factors worth considering. The first is the possibility of future pandemics. For instance, right now, apparently, there is a monkeypox outbreak spreading around the world. In fact, according to a recent statement that was put out by the CDC, there are currently 11 countries with confirmed cases, including the US. And just for your reference, if you've never heard of it before, monkeypox is a relatively rare viral infection that originates in the tropical areas of West and Central Africa. And it's generally transmitted by very close contact with an already infected person, including through sex. Symptoms are usually mild, and they include things like fever, headache, muscle and back aches, swollen lymph nodes, chills, exhaustion, and of course, the iconic monkeypox lesions. And as you can see the chart up on screen for yourself, and this chart, by the way, is actually updated. It has 16 countries on it, and it shows the breakdown of those countries that monkeypox cases have been confirmed in. And as you can see, at the very top of the chart, you have Spain, Portugal, as well as the UK, which have the largest number of confirmed cases. And in regards to the UK, the WHO has already come out and they declared the current level of spread as an official emergency. Now, Dr. Suzanne Hopkins, who is a chief medical advisor to the UK Health Security Agency, she recently told the Daily Mail what they're actually seeing on the ground in Britain. Here's specifically what she said in the statement, quote, "We are detecting more cases on a daily basis, and I'd like to thank all of those people who are coming forward for testing to sexual health clinics, to the general practitioners and emergency departments. We are finding cases that have no identified contact with an individual from West Africa, which is what we've seen previously in this country. The community transmission is largely centered in urban areas, and we are predominantly seeing it in individuals who self-identify as gay or bisexual or other men who have sex with men. That's because of the frequent close contacts they may have." Now, despite the fact that there are only currently at least 108 confirmed cases of monkeypox thus far, it looks like the government of the world have gone on high alert. For instance, Belgium has already instituted a mandatory 21-day monkeypox quarantine for anyone who has contracted the virus. This came after they found only 4 confirmed cases of the virus within the borders of their nation. And here in America, the first confirmed case was in Massachusetts, followed by right here in New York City, and now it looks like there's another confirmed case over in the state of Florida. This led Joe Biden to weigh in on the monkeypox situation here in America, saying this, quote, They haven't told me the level of exposure yet, but it is something that everybody should be concerned about. We're working on it hard to figure out what we do and what vaccine may be available, but it is a concern in the sense that if it were to spread, it would be consequential. And indeed, it looks like the Biden administration has a potential solution to both this health crisis as well as whatever other health crisis might be on the horizon. And that solution involves giving more power as well as more authority to the World Health Organization, otherwise known as the WHO. Specifically, just last week, the Biden administration proposed several amendments to be adopted by the WHO, which would grant the organization unilateral authority to declare a public health emergency in any nation in the entire world based on whatever evidence they may choose, which might sound like hyperbole, but it's not. Specifically, up on screen, you will see a letter that was written by Lois Pace, who is the Assistant Secretary for Global Affairs in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And this letter, which I also have in my hand, well, it was addressed to the WHO leadership, and here's part of what the opening statement said, quote, "The United States led an inclusive and transparent process to develop this decision, as we are mindful that updating and modernizing the IHR, which stands for the International Health Regulations, are critical to ensuring the world is better prepared for and can respond to the next pandemic." And then right below that opening statement, it goes on to list a slew of amendment changes that the Biden administration is recommending that the WHO adopt in their regulations, 3 of which I believe are worth highlighting. The first amendment would remove an existing requirement in Section 9 that the WHO, quote, "consult with and seek to obtain verification from officials in a nation in which a health crisis is suspected before making any public declaration." That same amendment also provides that, quote, "WHO may take into account reports from sources other than notifications or consultations from the nation with the suspected problem." Meaning, in plain English, that this would allow the WHO to issue a health emergency in a given nation, regardless of what that nation's own elected government says. Secondly, the second amendment change is that the Biden administration is proposing a change to Section 5, which would direct the WHO to establish, quote, "early warning criteria for assessing and progressively updating the national, regional, or global risk posed by an event of unknown causes or sources," which then ties in neatly to the third point, which is that the Biden administration is proposing an amendment to Section 10, which would require that the WHO, in the event that a nation with the suspected problem doesn't cooperate within 48 hours, shall, quote, "when justified by the magnitude of the public health risk, immediately share with other nations the information available to it." And this is where things get a little bit, you can say, odd, because these proposed amendments to the WHO, they appear to parallel very, very closely certain references that were made in a fact sheet that the Biden administration released as a part of their 2023 federal budget proposal. Here are what the relevant references say. And again, this is from the official fact sheet from the federal government regarding the 2023 federal budget. Quote, "The Biden administration, in order to support global threat detection innovations through a globally connected network of public health surveillance systems that optimizes disease prevention and health promotion as we strengthen surveillance initiatives to provide necessary actionable data before, during, and after a pandemic. The budget includes $2.47 billion in mandatory funding for the CDC to include enhancements to domestic Sentinel surveillance programs, expansion of both domestic and global wastewater surveillance, and investments in global genomic surveillance approaches, as well as global respiratory disease surveillance platforms." And just for your reference, when they make mention of the respiratory surveillance platforms, that includes things like video cameras that alert authorities when members of the public are seen coughing, sneezing, or otherwise acting in a way that might indicate that they have an infectious disease. That is quite literally exactly the same type of equipment that is currently being utilized in China. And it looks like the Biden administration is pushing for its adoption not only here at home domestically, but also globally. And then, if the WHO accepts these proposed amendments from the Biden administration, well, then the U.S. global biometric surveillance, which is outlined in this fact sheet, can be used to justify declaring a health emergency in another country that we happen to be monitoring. It's kind of amazing how this all fits together. And so if we circle back to Switzerland, at this very moment, if you take a short 4.5-hour car ride from the World Economic Forum meeting, well, you get to the place where the World Health Organization is having their global meeting right now, wherein, among several other things, they will be voting on whether or not to adopt the Biden administration's amendments. And based on their decision, well, it might very well determine the future of how all these global pandemics play out, both monkeypox and whatever comes next. If you'd like to go deeper into anything that we discussed in today's episode, between the World Health Organization, the Monkeypox, the World Economic Forum, and so on, all those links will be down there in the description box below this video for you to check out. And all I ask in return is that you take a super quick moment to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And now let's, what's this? It's me. Of course it's Sekur, because we use the Sekur app, which is the sponsor of today's episode, as well as an awesome email and message service provider that actually cares about your privacy. Now listen, it's no big secret that our data is being mined and remined all the time. In fact, there was a recent study that was published in the year 2020, which found that 155 million Americans, likely including you and me, have suffered some form of data breach. And frankly, that's only what's publicly known. However, all those past problems with privacy issues and data mining, well, that can be an issue of the past, because moving forward, you can use the Sekur app, which both your messages, your emails, and your phone calls can remain private. That's because they have their servers and their data centers located in Switzerland instead of in the US or China or Russia. And why does that matter? Because Switzerland has the strictest data privacy laws in the entire world, and they are not subject to the intrusive Cloud Act. Now, what I love the most about the Sekur app is that they don't collect my data, they don't mine my data, they don't mine the data and phone numbers of my friends and family. Everything is private. And best of all, at least in my opinion, this does not work with your big tech email provider just because it is not secure. And so check it out. You can head on over to Sekur.com, and if you use promo code Roman, you can get 25% off. And frankly, their rates are not even that expensive. It only starts with $5 for the messenger and $10 for the email and messenger combo. And best of all, they offer a 7-day free trial. And now in closing, I would like to mention, as I already mentioned on a previous episode, but I believe it's worth repeating, that we just published an exclusive episode of Facts Matter over on Epoch TV detailing the dangers that have been discovered in regards to the spike protein. Here's a trailer for that episode. After 2 years of research and studies, the scientific understanding surrounding the danger of the spike protein has evolved quite a lot. And so while at first, when the pandemic first began, people thought that the spike protein was only there to help the virus enter human cells, and that was it. However, over time, researchers have slowly discovered that the effects of the spike protein are actually multifaceted, and that the spike is harmful to the human body in at least 8 different ways, such as by damaging the cells of our lungs, damaging our cells' mitochondria, causing general inflammation, and even by increasing the risk of blood clots. Furthermore, all this is compounded even further by the fact that, according to several new studies, the spike protein can persist in the human body for weeks or even months after a person gets vaccinated. And so today, let's explore what these potential dangers of the spike protein actually are, as well as some concrete actions that you can take in order to detoxify yourself and boost your own immune system. If you'd like to check out that awesome episode in its entirety, you can do so over on Epoch TV, which is, of course, our no censorship video platform. I'll throw the link. It'll be right there at the very top of the description box. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.